Hello. Okay, so I'm gonna get right into it. This is a topic I'm super passionate about, just because it took me so long in my life to um, kind of become actively creative. I had so much resistance built up, and just a lot of like creative blockage that I still deal with. I think all creative people, like it's just a continuous, lifelong challenge to remain creative, actively creative in everyday life. But um, so this video, if I feel like if you clicked on this video, there's something, either maybe you're a creative person that maybe is dealing with some stuck feelings of like I'm running out of ideas in whatever way that I choose to be creative, or maybe you wouldn't consider yourself to be a creative person, but there's like something innate in you that has an interest in it or admires it so much in others, wants it to be a part of your life and to feel like a feeling of purpose and something that is creative instead of just like consuming things all the time. So I'm going to walk you through like a process that has completely freed me, like creatively, and what it actually looks like in practice. And then I'm going to explain to you something I've learned to be very true, which is like a universal law of creativity that I will share with you. Okay, so you're in a stuck place. Maybe you don't have a lot of ideas. The first thing I'm going to recommend is starting with finishing one small creative act. And if you're not sure, like, even like can't even picture like what does that even look like, maybe something that you've thought about trying before, but keep it really small. So something you can complete in an hour or less, better yet, like 15 minutes, and the focus being on low stakes, something ideally that's like enjoyable. Like, you don't want anything to feel like you're forcing your hand at something you're really not interested in. And the priority being something you can finish in one day. These little mini creative acts are so important to like, for this idea that I'm going to be presenting to you. It's generative, and we're revving our creativity with bite-sized action. So that's by the way, I have note cards, because this idea that I'm expressing is so important to me and I want to do it justice. So if I'm looking down a lot, I'm trying to stay on task here. So that's the first tidbit that's really important to re-revving a creative practice or beginning one for the first time, is get used to finishing small projects. Number two, is a question. Have there been creative ideas I've had in the past that I never acted on? And are any of these ideas still alive in me? So this one's more of a reflection. So you're taking these like really small bite-sized actions, finishing little tiny projects like a haiku, or coming up with a dance routine, whatever it is that is interesting and inspiring to you, that you admire in other people. And then asking yourself, has there been any ideas I've had in the past that maybe just slipped by me? I never did anything about it. I never acted on it. Sometimes those ideas die. Sometimes they're not interesting to us anymore. But sometimes they're still very much alive, and they're just like in our bodies, just like, they still exist. And then start taking bite-sized action to make real those ideas that we've had in the past. So we're kind of like, I like to think of creativity as it's like a relationship. And if you've kind of neglected it in the past, like a lot of the times that's why I feel really creatively confused or blocked or uninspired, is because I've been given pretty good ideas that I haven't acted on. And so my creativity is like, I don't trust this person. I don't know. She's not engaged in me. So basically the purpose of this step of asking ourselves these questions is we need to clear out backlogged, dormant ideas. And these ideas need to be acknowledged in order to move forward and to bring in the flood of creative ideas. And just to so let's say you've had 10 ideas for a book. That's a lot of time. It would take maybe a really long time to pursue fully all of those ideas. But really what ideas need is to be acknowledged in some way. So maybe having, pulling up a Google Doc and writing out a few paragraphs, describing what this idea was that you had X amount of time ago, and just acknowledging what was inspiring to you at the time about it. What do you like that idea? And maybe that idea will be recycled into a new idea in the future. But the idea needs to be acknowledged as something worthwhile and worthy to pay attention to. Okay. So while we're taking these bite-sized actions of enjoyable creative activities, and while we're starting to re-engage with those dormant ideas that we've had in the past, we're doing these things together. So for example, I have a dream of writing a book, and a book takes a while. And so a reason why I was drawn to YouTube as a way to express ideas, ideas that pop up in my journaling or just in my day-to-day life, is that it takes about an hour to an hour and a half of time for me to get my ideas on paper, focus myself, and then record the idea and get it out into the world and be done, complete that idea. For writing, I'm a very slow process writer. Even for just an essay, a creative essay, or a short story, it takes me a long time to really fulfill the goals of an idea I've had. And so it's so important to have modes of creativity that take less time, so that you're not constantly down on yourself because you haven't finished this thing. But really, if it's a really big thing, it should take time, and you need those little victories along the way of finishing things that are less time consuming. So anyways, all of this, taking all these little creative action steps, all of this adds up to a lot of creative action, especially if you're not used to being creative in your day-to-day life. And this is when something really interesting happens. This is when the universal law of creativity and creation kicks in. So here's the universal law. When you finish an idea or act on it in some way, a flood of new, even better ideas will come take the place of your finished idea. And this I have found to be absolutely true. And the interesting thing is that, when I started writing or being creative, I believed, and a lot of people believe, I think, that we have to wait until we're really good at the thing that we're trying to do, like at writing, singing, creating music, whatever it is, whatever's your thing. We think we have to wait until we're really good to express that one big thing that is inside of us, that a really good idea we have. But really, if an idea presents itself to you, it means it's ready to be expressed. And ideally in, doesn't have to be immediately, but in a short amount of time. You don't want to wait 30 years to start that project, because the idea gets so buried underneath so many other things and it's less immediate and alive. So if an idea presents itself to you, it means it's ready. It means you're capable. And if you're worried about it not being perfect or expressed, exquisitely because you're brand new to this mode of expression, whatever your medium is, it's okay. You can return, maybe you finish it and it's a crappy first draft or first try, and then maybe you end up returning to it 10 years later and you've laid the groundwork to returning it again and doing it better the next time. So just because we fulfill an idea crappily doesn't mean that that idea is dead, gone, done. We'll probably return to it later. We usually do. So I love this quote. This is like the quote that I live by creatively. This is by Annie Dillard. And she, in this particular quote, is talking about writing. But the cool thing about quotes about, specific things like learning how to write, learning how to paint, learning how to act, like all of them interchangeably can be applied to each other because it's all creativity. So here's the quote. One of the few things I know about writing is this: spend it all, shoot it, play it, lose it, all, right away, every time. Do not hoard what seems good for a later place in the book or for another book. Give it all, give it now. Something more will arise for later, something better. These things fill from behind and from beneath like well water. And I found that to be, in my own practice, I didn't believe it, but it is true. You spend an idea, it's kind of like in a garden, when a flower is fully ripened and starting to dry, it's sad almost to do it, but you pinch the head off, or you clip the flower and then 4 more bloom in its place. So yeah, I would say it's a universal law. I'm putting a cautionary note on this video just because if you're not used to having creative ideas all the time, it can be really overwhelming, especially if you're like kind of a perfectionist about your ideas and what you put out into the world. Like for example, I would very much love to maybe wait a month to film this and put this out there because I feel like I could do it better in a month if I had more time, if I wasn't like trembling holding this camera and like worrying that that's a distraction. But I know that if I put this video out here today, I'm gonna have 10 to 15 to 100 more video ideas in the time span of a month that are better than this one, probably. And I've learned to trust that. And if I feel like I'm clinging on to an idea and I want to wait, that's the signal. That's the signal. Do it now. Get it done. And let's see. Some just like ending notes for this whole thing is mediocre action is great. Mediocre action is perfect. Writing a crappy poem, a crappy song, just the doing it is interacting with that part of yourself and with creativity itself. And what are my other notes? I think I already expressed this, but having different kinds of creativity that require a different amount of time is very helpful. So having a creative practice that, finishing a small drawing versus painting a full oil painting, require different amounts of dedication time, but both in finishing give you A, more creative ideas, and B, the satisfaction of having completed something. So you need both. So the main takeaways from this video, ideas like to be completed. Ideas like to be acknowledged, even if they end up sucking. 2, you will always be rewarded by new ideas. And 3, ideas will never ever run out. You might just get bored of your medium, and yeah, switch to something else. Like maybe someday I get bored of making these videos and I switch to painting. So ideas are never ending, and that's really exciting. You will, the really, really good idea you have right now is going to turn into 1,000 new ideas. So I hope that is helpful. I do hope in the future I get better at making videos like this, and that I'm able to increasingly have better and better and better ideas to bring. So good luck out there, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.